What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Lions video. Now, over the past couple of months, we've talked a lot about the Detroit Lions and what they're going to do in this draft class. Whether they're going to take a player at 7, whether they're going to trade down, whether they're going to trade up in the NFL draft. There's a lot of different ways the Lions can go with their 7th overall pick. However, primarily when talking about what the Lions should do at 7, I have come to the conclusion, and many Lions fans have come to the conclusion, that trading down would be the best scenario for the Lions. Accumulate more picks, fill more holes for the roster that desperately needs it. However, there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of debate surrounding who the Lions should trade down with. Who should the Lions look to make that trade with? What team would be willing to trade up into the top 10? And what team would be willing and have the ability to give up all that capital in order to move up to the 7th overall selection? So in this video and in a few more videos to come, I want to go a little bit more in depth with potential trade targets, potential teams that could both be looking to trade up, teams that are financially able to trade up, teams with enough capital to trade up, as well as some of the teams that may be looking to acquire the 7th overall pick. Now, before we get into the video and before we start talking about the first trade target for the Detroit Lions, if you're new to the channel and you are enjoying the content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It takes just 2 seconds out of you to do so. It's quick, free, and easy, and you would be helping the channel out more than you could possibly know. So if you could do that, take those 2 seconds to like, subscribe, and maybe just a 3rd second to hit the bell notification bell. I'd be greatly appreciative for it. But with all that being said, and without any further ado, let's get right into talking about the Detroit Lions' first trade target for this draft season in the Washington football team. Now, the Washington football team has been a NFL team, has been a football team that has been rumored to be looking to trade up and has been a rumored trade partner with the Detroit Lions for a couple of weeks now. Now, the Washington football team currently holds the 19th overall pick, the 51st pick, the 74th pick, pick 82, pick 124, 163, 244, as well as 246. Also, along with their 7 picks next year. They have all 7 picks for the 2022 draft as well. Now, last year, the Washington football team was the 7-9 NFC least champion. They made the playoffs. They did lose in the wild card round. However, they did give the Buccaneers quite a run for their money. Now, although the Washington football team is a relatively solid team, it's pretty well constructed, it does have a few holes left on the roster that could still look to be filled. The Washington football team does not have a star-studded, does not have a starting caliber quarterback on the roster right now, or the quarterbacks they have on the roster right now being Ryan Fitzpatrick as well as Taylor Heinicke. Either are journeymen in the case of Ryan Fitzpatrick, a guy that you know isn't really going to give you elite high-end quarterback play, which I think is something that the Washington football team is looking for. And then Taylor Heinicke showed some decent potential, showed us some flashes early in that playoff game, but did end up leaving the game a little bit early, and he did get a small extension. However, he has a long way to go before solidifying himself as that starting quarterback. So if the Washington football team feels as though they are capable, feels as though they are just that one big quarterback piece away from being not just a 7-9 wildcard team, but being maybe a 9-10 win team that's going to go a decent ways and is going to have a decent run in the playoffs, they could be looking to. Now, they could also be looking for O-linemen. They could also be looking for secondary players, or potentially maybe another weapon to go alongside Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin. With Washington sitting at the 19th overall pick, I do think it would take them quite a bit to move up. Of course, they would have to move up 12 spots to the 7th overall selection. And I think that a potential trade, I think a realistic trade to expect from this would be the 19th overall pick in this year's draft, the 74th overall pick in this year's draft, as well as their 1st round pick in next year's draft. Now, I think this makes a lot of sense for both sides. Starting with the Washington football team, they would get to move up. They would get their top 10 caliber player. They would get a guy, if they wanted a quarterback, they could get that next elite tier quarterback, whether it be Justin Fields or Trey Lance, a guy with so much upside, a guy with so much potential, and a guy that has so much, and a guy in either Lance or Fields that has the potential to be a true franchise iconic quarterback in the NFL very early within their careers. They could also move up, potentially take a Rashawn months later, if Ja'Marr Chase falls, maybe they want to add a bigger guy to their wide receiver core with Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, who are both a little shorter, faster, shiftier wide receivers. If they want to add that big body guy, they could potentially look to go Ja'Marr Chase, or maybe they just want to add more speed to that wide receiver core and maybe they pick Jalen Waddle instead. I think there's a lot of different ways the football team could go with a top 10 pick. However, I don't think that there is a reason that they would not want a top 10 pick. I think it's very realistic. There are a lot of different avenues that the Washington football team could go with a top 10 pick, and truly, if they feel they are that one piece away, whether it be that big time offensive lineman, that big time quarterback, I have no doubt that they are going to pull the trigger to stay right there in that playoff contention, stay right there in the NFC race, and try to get one up, try to get even farther next year in the playoffs, and of course repeat as division champions. With that being the case, that would leave the Lions sitting at the 19th overall pick if this trade were to occur. I like this trade because you're not moving down too far in the draft. You're moving down to a spot where you can genuinely get some pretty good talent still. You can genuinely fill a lot of holes on the roster and a lot of holes that this roster still has with the 19th overall pick. You're of course getting that 2021 pick, which is probably going to be somewhere in the mid to high 20s, so it's not going to be a great first round pick. However, it is going to be a third first round pick that year and likely be a second first round pick within 5 or 6 picks, of course with the Rams likely being in the 20 to 30 range as well. So that would give the Lions 3 picks in the 2022 NFL draft, as well as giving the Lions an extra third round pick here with a draft class that is as deep as the 2021 draft. Now, sitting at pick 19, that is your ideal range to get a guy like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. That's probably the tail end of where he will go in the NFL draft. That's prime real estate for Azeez Ojulari, Christian Barmore, Rashad Bateman, Zaven Collins, Tevin Jenkins, or a couple other guys that are sitting there, a couple other guys that could be real impact players for your team. Again, if you are the Lions, you have a lot of different holes on this roster. If you want to fill linebacker, there's your Jeremiah, there's your Zaven Collins. If you want a pass rusher, there's your Azeez Ojulari. If you want a defensive lineman, Rashad Bateman is right there. If you want an offensive lineman, Tevin Jenkins will likely still be there at pick 19, although it's possible he's gone. And then, like I said, if you want a defensive lineman, if you want the best defensive tackle in the class, you go get Christian Barmore with the 19th overall selection. Now, sitting with the 74th overall pick, that's your ideal range for maybe an Amon-Ra St. Brown if you want to bring in a bigger bodied wide receiver. Of course, the Lions have run into a lot of speed at the wide receiver position, but not so much a lot of size and contested catchability. So that could be your guy right there, an Amon-Ra St. Brown. Javon Holland, the safety out of Oregon, is going to likely be there as well. Tommy Togiai, one of my gems, one of my hidden gems for the draft. Kellen Mond will still likely be there. Dylan Moses will likely still be there. You have Nico Collins that'll still be there. You have Jamar Johnson, a safety that I love, another one of my hidden gems in this draft class that will still be there at 74. You know, that is a third round pick, and that is even relatively high third round pick. That is not far from where the Lions are picking. I believe they actually picked the 72. They actually picked the 72nd overall pick. So that would give them 2 picks almost back to back. That would give them 2 picks very close proximity. If they wanted, they could bundle 2 of those third round picks, move back up. You know, I think it gives them a lot of flexibility. I think it gives them a lot of different ways and a lot of different avenues to go with that extra third round pick. And of course, as I said, moving down to pick 19, you're not losing out on a ton of value, and you're still in a position to take one of the top linebackers, one of the top edge rushers, one of the top defensive tackles, one of the top offensive tackles, or, you know, one of the top wide receivers. So regardless, I think this would be a good trade for the Detroit Lions, regardless of what they do, regardless of where the Washington football team does with their 7th overall pick in these hypothetical scenario, regardless of who the Lions do take with that 19th overall pick or the 74th overall pick. I think this would be a good trade for the Detroit Lions. I think this could be something that could really set the Lions up for a lot of future success. Of course, getting 2 more picks inside the top 100 this year, as well as another first round pick for next year. It's not the most value. You're not getting the most picks out of the Washington football team, as they are only moving up 12 spots. However, if the right guy is there, I would not be shocked if Washington was willing to pull the trigger. And like I said, this could be really, really impactful and could be a huge turning point for this Lions team in their rebuild. So would this be the greatest trade for the Detroit Lions? I don't think this would be the best trade scenario. I don't think this team would be the best one to trade for. And of course, we'll get into more teams that the Lions could look to trade with in the future. However, I do think if the Lions are looking to trade with Washington, it said that the Lions are looking to trade down. It said that Brad Holmes is very interested in trading away the 7th overall pick, with the Washington football team being so close a season to go, having a really good foundation in place with really that revolving door at quarterback being their biggest deficit, I do think it's a realistic scenario where Washington pulls the trigger. I do think the Lions can get at least that amount of value, if not more, for the 7th overall pick, and I think it would benefit both teams tremendously. Although it may not be the best situation for the Lions, it would still be a very, very good one. With all that being said, with all that being the case, that is all I got for you guys today. Again, I wanted to go in depth a little bit more with some of the potential trade targets that may be looking to acquire the 7th overall pick. Tomorrow, we'll be back with another one of these videos, or potentially, if there is some news and rumors, we'll be back with one of those videos as well. But with that being the case, with all of that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching the video. Of course, if there is Lions news, if there is Lions rumors to come out, there will be a video made on it. But until then, that is all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions.